Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming.
Hello and welcome to Thoughtless Casual Gaming with Brett and Jace. We are a Geelong-based gaming podcast where we play things badly and then talk badly about them. But tonight, we're going to talk about a lot of different things badly.
We have done so many badlies.
All
Sometimes
of the badlies.
worsleys. Yeah, so bad.
Ooh, worsleys. That's a good one. I'll stick that into the intro next time.
We play games worsely.
Worsely. Me fail English, that's impossible.
It could be worsely, and we could just be talking about German sausage.
Yes. Well, save that for our other podcast, Thoughtless Casual Sausages. You've probably played a lot more than me recently.
I went a little bit silly, through no fault of my own, but I have spent a little bit of time getting some different games in, mainly the same games in, but sometimes differently.
That's the start. That's what we talked about last time, is what different things we wanted to do that weren't Blood Bowl. So
yes.
What that was not Blood Bowl have you played?
That was not Blood Bowl. That's very specific. No, look, there's been two. The first one has been some more Warhammer Underworlds.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few Underworlds games now. Just trying to get a head around the rules again, trying to see what the difference is between the new edition, all that jazz. And it's actually been really refreshing and really good fun. It's probably, as a filthy casual in this game, like I have been a noob at this game since first edition.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive now, given how many editions they've had.
Well, the thing is, when Underworld is going on, there's usually a moose involved somewhere. And you don't need to know any of the rules if he's around.
No, and I find I feel guilty after a while. And that means one of two things: making the investment in getting all the stuff that I need and learning the rules, or backing off. And both of those are viable options. I'm trying to go with the former in this instance and actually work out how the game's played and have enough shit to be able to do it independently, should I so choose. Although if there is a game of Underworlds going, trying to get Moose not there would be a challenge.
Are we still holding on to the thought that it's as easy to pick up as the last version of Underworlds was?
Yes, I think it's almost easier to pick up. In that they've spent some time sort of streamlining rules and getting rid of some of the quirkiness, getting rid of some of the negative play experiences.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that is probably the trickiest now is that it used to be that you would go buy a warband and it would come with a deck of cards and you'd be like, I've got a warband and I've got a deck and theoretically this is all I need.
Yep.
The decks are now separate to the warbands because they're all universal decks. So you go and buy your warband and that basically gives you the fighter cards and the little war scroll and the models, but no deck. So you need to go and get the universal decks, of which there are ways and means, but theoretically it's $50 a hit.
Yeah, which is exceptional for a bunch of cardboard.
It is a bullshit price. Let's be really clear about this. If only they were all available online and things like Officeworks existed. So it is, rules-wise, very, very easy. I think it's easier for new players because everybody feels like they're starting from scratch. It's not like I have this collection of cards from last, so it means I can do more things because everybody's starting with the same 6 or so decks.
There's a new deck coming out, which I saw. I think it was on like Warhammer Community Preview, which sounds like it's like a more, what's the word? Vermin springs to mind. One for warbands with a bunch of people that you just throw at the opponent, which is potentially, if that is what it is, it's potentially what's sort of holding me back at the moment, is that I've got, 3 now Skaven teams that I would love to play in Underworlds.
Yep.
2 of which need to be painted. One's sort of half there, but that's neither here nor there. What's holding me back is I kind of just want to get a deck that suits all 3 of them, and then I can mix and match and play the units that I want, and not have to worry too much about changing decks and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it's kind of why I bought the starter box, the Omega starter box, whatever it's called, because you've got 4 decks, and there's kind of a bashy one and an objective one, and they're all kind of slightly different around how they score. So I kind of went, right, well, if I've got a bashy warband or if I've got a less bashy warband, and they have made an effort to theme the warbands and the deck, so you can go, this is an aggressive warband, here is an aggressive deck. I'll put those 2 together. Those kind of things. There's this really awkward middle ground of kind of flex, which is a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Which actually suits a lot of warbands more than it doesn't, I'm discovering. Because there's some objective, there's some killy stuff, there's a little bit of everything. So you can kind of go, all right, what's in my hand today that I'm going to do?
I think I'm just kind of waiting for somebody to say, this is the deck that you should be using with Skaven, and then I get that, and then Bob's my brother's, my father's brother, and away we go.
Yeah.
So.
And that's probably the other potential tricky bit, thinking way down the line, is we've got a billion warbands that they can rejig and re-release and stuff. That's all happy days, and they'll do others, we know that. But given that a deck is pretty easy to release, that's where the potential for future bloat, I think, is going to be. Here's a new deck, and here's a new deck, and here's a new deck, and all of a sudden they're all at $50 a pop, theoretically.
Yep.
You're not going to play against them all, because at the moment I had one of the games I played against Pat, which was fascinating, and it's the first time this has ever happened. We had the same deck. 2 different warbands, but I knew his objectives and he knew my objectives, and we were like playing the same game, and that was a bit of a brain melter. It's the first time I've had to actually go, I know what you're trying to do, and theoretically I should try and stop that, but what am I trying to do? But I don't want you to know that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, how do I play this?
It's a lot more intensity than you would think, having the same deck as your opponent.
It was so much harder than anything else, because usually it's like they did a thing, I'm like, oh, surprise. But it's been fun. I think fundamentally most of the changes make sense. For me, I think it's probably a good leveler for people coming into the game. It probably sucks for those people who were just getting into the game at the end of last edition. That's the thing. But
that would probably be a low amount of people, considering.
Yeah, and realistically, most of the stuff you probably had is still mostly usable. Like, you throw out a lot of cards, right? But using the same models, go find some fighter cards in a deck, and off you go. Mostly. Anyway, I've played a few games of Underworlds now. It's also really nice. I painted the vamps up at the end of last edition, and I am a terrible Underworlds player. And what was really concerning is I was winning games with the vampires. And this didn't feel right for anything. And re-released, new slight tweaked abilities. They don't have their own deck. And all of a sudden I am not winning games at all. And it feels much more accurate.
Excellent.
So,
because the vamps are one, I mean, I'm just thinking back, and I've got a shitload of Underworld
Mhm.
bands. You know, virtual treasure trove.
Who's Trevor?
That's extra points if you can get that reference. But yeah, the Vamps and the Nurgle,
Mhm.
I painted up reasonably nicely, and I wouldn't mind them seeing the checkered field again.
Mhm. The other thing I will say did annoy me is I had this really handy dandy little 3D printed box that had gaps exactly for the dice and the tokens and the everything, and it was literally like a little card deck sized box that carried all the other stuff. They changed the size of the other stuff.
But the other stuff is still the same. Yeah?
Almost. The hexes on the board are a different size now.
Okay, so yeah, that
So
causes
the
problems.
objective things changed, but there was also 2 different size round tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So the glory ones were bigger or smaller or something. They've, again, probably good choice. They've made them all the same size, but the little holes in the box I had were for 2 different size.
But you've still got the tokens from the original. I'm sure you can just use those.
Absolutely.
Are the hexes bigger in the new set?
The hexes are smaller.
Damn it. Okay, that makes... If it was the other way around, it'd be fine.
Yeah, the hexes are an issue. There's also a new kind of token required for an underdog. And they've got rid of the magic dice, which means I have 3 blank little dice sections. Frankly, I hate a whole new thing because it upsets me.
That shouldn't be too hard, surely.
Everything was so organized and neat, and now shit falls out everywhere. So I'm going to go back to the old tokens. Could fix that, but the dice numbers are an issue. So funnily enough, the D6 that you get in the starter box, they're usually 16 mil dice or 12 mil dice.
Something like that.
They're not quite.
They're different.
They're slightly different than standard dice. I didn't believe Moose when he told me they're that close, but that is a thing.
That's typical, isn't it?
It's a fraction, but it's ridiculous.
GW's going down the Apple route, changing everything from everything else.
The fundamental story is the game is fun. The game is still the game it was. There's some tweaks, some streamlines, and it's like I'm pretty keen to get some more on. So I sort of know what I'm doing now, which is terrifying.
Well, my Tuesday nights have sort of opened up again, which is good. So I should be able to get to more of the sessions. So hopefully if somebody can tell me what sort of deck to bring or brings a deck for me.
That's an easier option. Just do that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind some more Underworlds.
Easy. All right. Well, that can definitely be a thing. It has been a thing. Moose is still on holidays. He will literally play anyone at any time, day or night. So that is one of the things I've been playing that was not Blood Bowl. The other thing I played that was not Blood Bowl was Gaslands.
Yep. No, I played this as well. We had a night there, one of the Tuesdays, where we had 2 games going side by side. I think it was 4 players and 5 players. Was it 5 on yours?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
There was a shit ton of people. Yeah. On 2 tables, and it was side by side, and it was fucking chaos. It was so good, and huge thanks to both Lewis and Lee who came down, brought all their stuff, cars for everybody, like all the terrain, all the everything. We just showed up and looked dumb, and they went, "Here's what you do.
Yep.
Here's a car. Here's what it does. Here's some dice." He said, I didn't take anything. It was glorious.
I brought my tokens because we played this, a good couple of years ago now.
It was several, yes.
Yeah. And so I've got the dice and the templates, and I'd made up my little cards. So I took all of that along. But yeah, couldn't remember squat about the game, which was
Literally
great.
nothing.
Yeah, we had I think it was like one round with Lee before you and a couple other people rocked up.
Mm-hmm.
And my car exploded at the end of that round anyway. So it was a very violent round. Basically, Gaslands is a couple of checkpoints, and you race around in your little matchbox cars, literally matchbox cars,
Mm-hmm.
and try and get to the end, where typically like 4 gates or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, cool things I've discovered is that is one of the objectives in Gaslands.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the games you can play is Death Race, but there are several different objectives and games and things. I think it's A, the easiest beginner one, B, it's the easiest multiplayer bullshittery.
Okay.
But we were talking to Lee afterwards about some of the other games and objectives and things like there is a zombie killer where you just put like 30 dudes out on the table and you play Carmageddon.
I was just thinking that's Carmageddon all over again.
There's
I
scenarios
wasted so
there.
many hours on that game.
Me too. There's another one where it's got like a convoy train going across, and you've got to try and get the loot from the thing. And there's 2 gangs trying to get the most loot. And there's a Truckosaurus. There's so many things apparently that once you get into the game, you can do. But fundamentally, the idea of bashing up some Matchbox cars to look cool, like that Mad Maxy kind of deal. I love the template mechanic.
Yep.
So for those playing at home, you need to decide what you're going to do with your car. And when it comes to your turn, and there's a bunch of templates, and one is sort of, short, and one is a little bit longer, and one has a bend this way, and they it's just a bunch of things. But you're not allowed check which one fits. You kind of have to eyeball it, guess, and hope.
Yep.
And then you put your template down and you put your little car at the end of that template. And if it happens to be crashing into something, it's crashing into something. The other one that we discovered was a fun little rule is once you pick up a template, that's the template you're going to use.
Yes.
Regardless. If it's a template that your car can't use, which happens in the game, the person to your left gets to choose a template for you.
Yes, that's right.
So there was a bit of this going on where someone went, oh, this is the wrong one. Bad luck. Guess I'm looking.
Because, the templates are they give various different lengths and speeds and all sorts of stuff. But as you go along, you're basically pushing your car up gears. And if certain things can only be used when your car is in certain gears. So if you're in gear 3, for example, there's a template that you cannot use.
Yeah.
So you pick that up by accident.
Sucks
You're
to be
in
you.
a lot of trouble. And with the death race, once you pass the first gate, then all your guns turn on. Very much like the film.
Yes.
And then it's just chaos.
Yeah, so I was pretty excited after that. I grabbed a PDF copy of the rules. I happened to need to go to Kmart late one night. And conveniently, whilst I was at the checkout, there was a big old bin of Matchbox cars. So I pilfered those. I'm currently eyeing off Terrain. Because again, it's a really fun one for all that stuff, and I think there is possibility of Terrain that could be used across games. I'm kind of eyeing that as a potential.
Because it's one of those games that has this absolutely huge investment to play. You basically need a $2 Matchbox car, and then you glue bits to it.
if you want, like you could literally do this with a Matchbox car that you stole from the kids and a bunch of tissue boxes and shit on the floor.
Yep.
Like you'd need to work out the templates you could cut out of paper, the dice you would need to work out. But man, that's like, it's one of those games that has as much investment as you want to put in.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very tempted again after our game. Like, I'm tempted to just pick. I've found myself browsing those Matchbox cars a bit more than I usually do. I keep finding some weird things though. And like, I don't know if I can turn a car that looks like jelly into something I'd want to use against other people.
I was having this thought around, I should find all of the Matchbox food vans that I can and do something like
the hot dog car.
The hot dog, yeah. Yeah.
I think I bought a couple of donut cars for my son. They'll be somewhere in his room.
I mean,
you can't see the floor in my son's room, so if I go in there and find them and steal them, he'll never know.
Yeah. What's terrifying is my youngest was watching Hot Wheels on Netflix earlier today. The inspiration. They had a car there called the Holy Toaster.
I think I've seen that car.
And it's literally, and it looks like a giant toaster on wheels. I'm like, that is cool as fuck.
Ah, dear. How did you go in your game anyway?
Terribly. I think the way it actually played out was Jared was the only one to make it through like 3 gates, and he won. The rest of us, there was one turn there where the other cars, all of the other cars, just were out of action. They piled up. There was just this all-on collision. They were exploding and then careening off into each other and then colliding and then stuff out. Like, it was just stupid. And I think Lee was a little bit tired, and apparently he said you need to sit up behind the last gate you went through when your car exploded and you come back on.
Yep.
And so we did that. But he didn't tell us that we weren't allowed to turn around and go backwards. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are. He went to the bathroom and we decided that was the rule. And Jared was that far ahead. The only way we were reaching him was to head him off at the pass.
Yep.
So I most literally just turned his car around and drove backwards up the track and shot giant lasers at him.
Well, that's funnily enough, that's how our game went, because we had 4 of us. So it was Yolv, Lewis, myself, and Eric. And Lewis gave us the option of playing teams. So we ended up 2-on-2. So it was me and Eric against Yolv and Lewis. Now, Lewis was teaching everything beautifully, but did also happen to have a car that had all sorts of special abilities that ours cars did not.
He also remembered said abilities.
Yes, very much. So it got to a point where he was heading to gate 4, or was it 3? I think we only had 3. He was heading for the finishing line, and all 3 of the rest of us had blown up that turn. And so we chucked our cars at the front, and Lewis actually pointed out, it's like only one person needs to get across the finish line for the team to win. So you can just come back and, so that's what Eric did. Like, he put his car facing the other direction at the, behind, and went and tried to, and like he almost did it. Like, he got Lewis down to 1 health, and, I tore ahead of Yolv and was coming up behind Lewis at the time, but couldn't stop him. But got so much fun. But we definitely went backwards. We didn't go in reverse, but
which apparently you can do anyway. It was absolute carnage, but it was just so much stupid fun. I mean, I would be keen. I have only played Gaslands multiplayer, and I really enjoy multiplayer games, but I can't help but feel that there's probably some of the Gaslands stuff that we're missing just playing single car multiplayer bullshittery. So it's another one I would be keen to actually play a few games of and just see how it goes, what it's like when you're playing, because you start talking sponsorships and things like that, and they all get slightly different sort of perks and play styles and things as well. So then you can build a little team of your own cards up to do and play the way you want to play. It's very tempting.
If only you had the rule book, eh?
Ooh, lucky PDF exists. And actually, to be fair, the rulebook is relatively inexpensive. Like,
Yeah.
I've got the original one, so I bought the original rulebook. The actual rules, the core rules, have not changed from that.
Okay.
So
there's not much difference in the last version.
So the refueled rulebook, the big one that Lee had, they did a whole bunch of like almost Spike magazine type deals. It's the almanac. So it's all the FAQs and erratas and tweaks and changes to any of the core rules, plus all the extra scenarios, plus all the extra sponsorship options and stuff like that, all kind of rolled into one. So you get a whole bunch of new factions and things like that. But the actual core mechanics, fundamentally the same as far as I can tell.
Interesting.
I
don't know what I did. I don't know if I ever bought the rule book or printed off the PDF or something like that for that when we played originally. Might have to have a hunt around, see if I've got it. Otherwise, it's not too hard.
No, but and equally the rule book, because I did that thing where I got the PDF and I'm like, how much would this be to print? And then I priced printing it and binding it at Officeworks and went, actually, it's cheaper just to buy the rule book.
All right, fair call.
Yeah. And it's nicer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have the actual official books.
I really like digging through a rule book. I'm terrible, and I actually really dislike PDF rules and stuff anyway. I'm so bad at them. I want the physical, tangible, tactile thing where I can flick through it.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm the same with everything almost now. So, yeah, books, I can't do Kindles or ebooks or anything like that. I can't download PDFs of Spike magazines or Blood Bowl rules or whatever the case may be, because I don't want to. I'd much rather have the book in front of me and be able to skim through that. I'm getting there with bloody physical media too. Getting sick and tired of not being able to find the movie I want to watch on Netflix or Prime or Disney or whatever the hell I've got as well. And some things just aren't on any of those things now.
Or you've got to get the sub subscription of something. Yeah, fuck off, Paramount. That's the moral of the story. I don't want your stupid extra service. But I do want some of the things on there. It annoys me. I don't want it. I'm not doing it, but I want some of the things on there. Anyway.
I think I got it for a special for like 3 months for free or something. So, but I have not gotten rid of it yet.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. It's frustrating too. And you're like, you have to look up. If you want to watch something, you have to look it up and go, right, which streaming service is this on? Yeah. And they go, it's on Prime. And you go, cool, I've got Prime. And you jump on Prime and it's like, yes, rent it for $5 or download it for $12. And I'm like, no.
Also, stop giving me ads, Prime. Not okay. I just paid for you.
Yes. Anyway. That's a whole other cast there too. Anyway, so we've got some gaming done. Have we done some hobby?
Actually, I'm pretty happy with the hobby, and I'm pretty happy with my commitment to myself-ish. So, start of the year, I said I want to try a month of focus. Like, let's try just put the blinkers on for a month and do a thing and get some stuff done. My January has been War Master. So, 15
I have seen the pictures that you've been putting in Discord.
I have been pretty well disciplined, I think, for me, in that has been the primary. And I suppose there's been times where I'm like, shit, stuff's drying. Or there was a couple of days where it was just too goddamn hot to paint, so I had to do something else. So I did some conversions there's been pieces.
Yeah.
But 90% of the hobby I've done is done War Master, and there is a bunch of stuff there that is now glued to bases, basically done. I need to buy some shit to put on the bases, which is the only reason it hasn't gone any further, but that is a pretty good start. So, bunch of War Master, Blood Bowl. So, I was debating two teams, is the moral of the story, by
Yes.
most of this month. I had teams printed. But one of those teams was Elven Union, and what I discovered with the Elven Union is positions were really hard to make out when they were just resin.
Okay.
So one of the things I did I really like the team. It is the Agni Chaos. It's the Agni Elven Union team. So basically, the Blitzer is a Dark Elf, the Thrower is a High Elf, the Catchers are Wood Elves.
Okay.
But there's enough similarity in the extra armor and stuff. And I went, shit, how am I going to paint these? What am I going to do to differentiate? Because I would like to show that a little bit.
Yep.
And so what I ended up doing was base coating them all like I did a Zenithal, and then I sprayed them all a different color. So the High Elf is blue, the Dark Elf is purple, the Wood Elves are green. The linemen are pink because I couldn't think of anything else.
Fair.
And what that also meant is I could play games with them and go, right, the purple one's the Blitzer. And it made it really, really easy to go which player's which before they were painted and a little bit hard to make out. So I did that. And then I stopped because I went, I'm not doing any more until I decide what I'm going to play. I have done a little bit on the other team as well. The day I spent converting because it was too hot, I was putting together the rest of my Necromunda Spyros. So they are mostly done. I need to get a couple of bits to really finish them off. Yeah, I need some bits. So I'm trying to put missile gauntlets on my little sniper guy. I need to find appropriate missiles. What I would really like, there's a Space Marine Devastator that has a missile launcher, and the missile launcher is firing a missile.
Yes,
I want the missile. I want the missile. And I'm going to make that come out of his little gauntlet, and that is going to make it a missile gauntlet, and it will be the best thing in the world. Equally, there is one of the options for the Jakara that's a Naga blade. I don't know what that is. It doesn't say in the book. It's also not on the weapons sprue. There's a few options that aren't on the weapons sprue. So my current thinking is I'm going to go steal like an Elder Howling Banshee sword, Chad, and use those. And so I need to grab a couple of bits to finish it off is the moral of the story, and then they'll be done. But I just need those last couple of little bits to make them pretty.
Yep.
And then I glued my fingers last night together, putting shit on metal cars, Matchbox cars.
That counts as hobby. The fingers thing. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there is now stuff glued to cars, but mainly it was my fingers. Yeah, it was a little messy. Anyway.
I love it when you get that little bit of glue on your fingers and you're like holding something to dry. And then you're like, okay, I think this is good. And then you try and take your fingers off and your fingers obstructed another part of the model.
There's so much. I'm so glad that I'm painting them now. Like I'll paint them after because it will get rid of so many of the fingerprints that are currently sitting in glue. Anyhow, so there has been a fair amount of a hobby going on. I've been relatively happily consistent.
I mean, that's a decent amount, but it's also still sticking to your theme of having a theme each month.
Look, 90% of it was War Master, and then I tinkered around the edges, and then like yesterday was the 31st. That didn't count. So I get to go a little bit wild.
No, I've been trying to stick to mine as well. Just do a little bit of hobby every day. And I'm not defining hobby. So hobby can be anything from, gluing some models together to painting something to...
Pornhub.
That's more of, it's more of an addiction than a hobby.
I was going to say, yeah, when does it...
It's one of those, Anyway, no, I'm not going to go there.
I find the difference between a hobby and addiction is the amount of chafing.
In this case, yes. And don't try to do it with super glue. I've been trying to do a little bit of hobby, and so far I have. We're into Feb now, so it's every day I've done a little bit, and that little bit, just by doing a little bit, has usually turned into more than I expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting through. I wanted to get 50 models done this year, which is what, 4 and a bit models a month, right?
Yeah.
So I'm painting up my Blood Bowl team for this season, and I'm doing orcs. So I've got 7 in the team, but I'll grab an extra lineman when I can. So 8 models I need to paint. I've done 4 of them. I did 4 of them in January, and all 4 linemen are done and ready. And the other 4 guys, I need to do one more tiny bit of colour on 2 models, which is just like dotting the bloody rivets that they have in their armour. So it shouldn't take me too long, depending on how badly I fuck up the dots. And then they just need transfers and the bases done. And then that's those 4 done as well.
That is glorious.
So I'm well on track. Problem is that having received said 3D printer for my birthday, I'm finding myself getting distracted by various different things. So, while I've been painting up my Blood Bowl team, and I'm well on track to get that done, that'll all be done by Tuesday for kickoff, which is great. But I have other things sitting here. My Goblin team that I'm most likely taking to Gold Crush at the end of the month, they've all been printed. I'm just printing bases for them, so I'm trying to do kind of horror-ish bases. They're the horror goblins. But I'm trying to sort of match where I can a base to the model. So, for example, the alien goblin has like a little, sci-fi-ish sort of base. Yeah. The Pennywise model is standing over a sewer, that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to do that. Didn't think it through, of course, because these big guys just do not want to stand on these textured bases at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm getting distracted by that. I'm printing off various other different things. I've painted off some, Wallace and Gromit rockets that the wife was interested in, so I started painting those up as well. And I've even, I wonder if you can see this little Gaslands gearbox.
Yes.
I haven't finished it, but I've started painting that today as well because, I wanted to take a break from highlighting yellow and paint something else. So I'm finding myself distracted a bit, but at the same time, I'm still on target, and I'm, these sort of I have deadlines. So Tuesday is the deadline for this Blood Bowl team, which it well and truly will be done by. After that, I've got to work on these goblins. And then, the goal with them is very little colour. So I'm going to try and do like different shades of grey on them, and then just various different bits of colour where needed. So, the Freddy Krueger one, I'll do his hat and I'll do the red stripes on his vest, for example. But, very little colour, so I want to see how I go with those. That'll be the next target, and then, of course, there's just, teams and things that I want to do for different things. I want to get my Star Wars crew done. Picked up the last box I needed to get my crew actually legit. So now I have some snow troopers that I need to undercoat. And Halo, I've undercoated my Halo team with Ironbreaker or whatever the Citadel metallic is.
Mhm.
And then I've started on one and just put, black and, worked a bit contrast paints. Contrast on Ironbreaker works so well. You just get
Lead Belcher?
lead belcher, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. It just works so well because you get that shiny look.
Mhm.
And so this guy here, I've pretty much done his weapon, and I've done all the black bits between the armor, and I've done the blue on the visor. So all I need to do is make a contrast paint out of the particular shade of pink that I want to do him in, and just have that all through it. So they should be relatively easy. But yeah, I've just maybe I should be following your guide and focusing a bit more, because I seem to be, spraying everywhere like a shotgun at the moment.
I still feel like I'm spraying everywhere like a shotgun, but then I kind of looked at it and went, no, actually, I did relatively well. I am very much at risk of doing the whole scattergun game approach at the moment. There's a lot of stuff I want to play, and I want to try, and I want to play more of. There's a lot of that, and it's a little bit of an
and
issue.
that's the problem, isn't it? It's like all these games that are popping up, Gaslands is interesting. I want to play Shatterpoint, so I want to have my models painted for that. Fucking Lewis is in the Discord painting up Marvel Crisis Protocol models. And I'm like, man,
he's jumped in and had a couple of sort of demo games, I think, so he was pretty keen. That is a thing that still gets. They had at CanCon, I think it was a 72 player tournament.
Wow. Okay, that's big.
It was,
for a non-GW game. That's pretty good. So
yeah, it was pretty huge. And a lot of people went. A lot of people I know went and played and said it was really cool. So it's a thing, and it gets a lot of games down at CV on a Tuesday. They're alternating between Crisis Protocol and Shatterpoint, I think. So it's.
I have seen Shatterpoint there, and I would love, I'd literally need somebody to go, here, bring your models, I'll teach you how to play.
Hit up Paris, he's in the Discord. Yeah,
I will.
He'd be the one I'd annoy first. But yeah, there's a lot of games going on at the moment, and it's very easy to get caught up in the hype. I mean, Trench Crusade is another one that's starting to get a little bit of traction. So some people are actually trying the game now, not just getting excited about the ridiculous models. So that's another one I'll add to the list. But
too much. My desk is full of models and paints and crap at the moment, and that's the problem with me when I, spray all over the desk, so to speak. I'll find myself, I'm like, okay, I'm painting this Blood Bowl team up, so I've got all the paints out that I need for that. And, when I finish with one paint, I put them in a pile just in case I need it for touch-ups or whatever. But I'm finding that, I've got my Blood Bowl pile, which is fairly large, and hopefully, by tomorrow evening will be empty. I can put it all away. But then there's colours that I've got out for Halo, and now colours that I've got out for this Wallace and Gromit rocket thing that I'm painting up quickly, and the gearbox.
I find there's two problems. One is my desk gets covered with shit because there's paints and because I'm really bad at putting shit away anyway, let alone that I'm using it right now, I'll leave it out. But also, if I have multiple projects sitting out in front of me, it's really hard to sort of focus on one as well. So it's very, I'm just going to do this, and I'll just do a little bit on that, and I'll just do ED. And it's like I have to make a really concentrated effort to put shit away so I don't look at it, get distracted by it, or anything like that. So,
I think my next step, once I've done this Blood Bowl team, is I need to build my roster for Gold Crush, which is due in next week. So once I build my roster, I know exactly what I'm taking and what I need to paint. And then X models divided by X. Yeah, it's going to be...
That's an 11s team, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Goblins, that's not 11 models. Yeah, so I need to get cracking on that. That's going to need some work.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be 100% finished by the time I get there, but we're going to get it as damn close as we can.
Yeah. Solid.
Excellent.
It's been lots of time.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the year has started off quite well. And it's given us something to talk about.
Is that all right? Yeah. I mean, I could have done an entire episode on how not to choose what Blood Bowl team you're playing.
And maybe we'll do that in the future.
That's a potential option. I've landed. It's fine. I'm here.
All right. Shall we cut to the first of our segments?
Let us cut.
So we talked about having various little segments thrown in amongst the podcasts. We're just going to throw one in now.
That we made up literally just before now?
We're at now. What happened to then? When? Just now? No. So this may or may not continue, but we'll wait and see. It depends if Jace comes up with a catchy jingle for it or not. But what are we going to call it?
Also TBD. I mean, it's almost a would you rather. I don't know.
All right.
Anyway,
you got time to think. Right.
Yeah, look, that's fine. It's not a now problem. It is a future me problem, and future me will thank past me for handing it to him.
So the question, hit me with the question.
This is the question, and this is the idea of the segment. Really, really simple. 2 options. You pick one. Not at all related to anything that we would ever normally discuss. Easy starter.
Mm-hmm.
Mint slice, Tim Tam. Pick one.
Mint slice. Is that the wrong answer?
I mean, it is. It also...
I figured as much.
Yeah, it is. Not only is it the wrong answer, but it also challenges my theory on... I mean, it doesn't, but I have a theory on mint slice versus Tim Tam preferences. But anyway, I think it's gender-based.
Okay. I'll have to check. Hold on. Don't know. Anything with mint usually wins it for me. I mean, that's just me. So mint slices. Mint. If you gave me mint slice or mint Tim Tam, I'm sure there's a mint Tim Tam out there.
Oh, there would be.
I'd be hard pressed.
Stop it! Like things that we don't consider alternative flavors of anything. Like it's a Tim Tam. I will allow double coat because those things are just a better Tim Tam, except that they give you one less.
I hadn't noticed that, but. I mean, that's understandable because you get thicker
No, it's not understandable. It's not that much thicker. It's unacceptable. But yeah, all the other flavors don't count. I will say mint usually does. Like, give me a mint choc chip ice cream. Give me it. Like, yes. I mean, I hear you, like a mint Aero, all of those things. However... just the classicness of like Tim Tams are one of those everyday foods. They are not an everyday food. They are a sometimes food. But it never matters what time of day, what day it is, what month of the year. It is always just like in the same way I will have, this is a different topic, but I will have a vanilla over a chocolate milkshake any day of the week. And I feel like the Tim Tam is that. It is the vanilla choice, but it is just like a comfy little friend. It's always there.
I don't think I ever choose vanilla for milkshakes.
That's not the topic at hand. All right.
This is going to cause this whole segment. If we continue to do this, this is going to fracture the friendship.
I love it. And actually, as an aside, I have a non-nerd group of friends that know very little about this world, and we occasionally get together for like dinner or something, and we'll put a controversial topic like this on the agenda because there is an agenda because we're those kind of people. But also we do things like ranking flavors of shapes, Arnott shapes.
Okay.
There have been moments where I thought friendships were going to end.
I went out to dinner with a couple of friends, a couple of school friends last night. And one of them, and these guys, like, they're, you know, very intelligent guys, right? The conversations get very political and all sorts of stuff, right? And one of them just piped in at some point during the night. He goes, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and I turned to him, I'm like, was it mine? And he just looked at, and I could see the brain churning over. And there was a pause. He's like, I find it really hard to follow your podcast because I don't do any of your stuff. I'm like, I'm kidding, mate. It's fine.
No. I don't need your excuses. Yeah. I wouldn't listen to it.
No, God,
all right.
no.
So, moral of the story is Tim Tam was the correct answer. You chose mint slice. This should become a Discord poll too.
All right. I can do it.
Let's do that.
All right. I'll stick it in the Discord. I'll probably get it there before you get the episode up. So
fair, which is good. If we were a more professional outfit, we would say, comment in live chat, and I don't care. Tell us, sure.
No.
The correct
vote
answer
in the poll. Come into Discord and vote in the poll if you're not.
That's a better idea because then you get to do other shit, and chat to people that aren't us.
Yes, exactly. Much more intelligent conversations.
This segment has rambled, but has been a thing.
All right. It's definitely a thing. On that note, shall we wrap it up? We are going to do a painting event February and March. That'll be up on the websites very shortly. So stay tuned for that once we just finalise a couple of details. Blood Bowl League is kicking off.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday nights, come down, watch some Blood Bowl. If you want to learn how to play, we are more than happy to teach.
I will play more than 1, 2, or 3 games quite happily. So
yeah, for
let's
sure.
do that.
We had the end of year giveaway. I'm going to have to draw that in the next day or so. I'll do that live on Twitch though. So that'll be nice and easy. That's done. But that's pretty much it for tonight. Nice and easy, just a little bit of a hobby gaming update.
Stuff going on, but I think that there is some definite possibilities for some more games of things and some more episodes on more games of things. Because
for sure. There's way too many things on my radar. Anyway, on that note, give us a follow, Spotify, Twitch, Twidbean, all the rest of it. Don't follow us on X. Nobody believes in X anymore.
No. Were we on X?
No, we were never on X.
So it's hard to follow us there anyway.
Yes, so we'll never be on X anyway. As always, thank you to our Patreons. You guys help us do these sort of giveaways and all sorts of stuff, and stuff that we can do much, much easier thanks to your help. Speaking of which, there are dice coming. They're in the works. Some of them have been printed up already. So all those Patreons on dice tiers will start seeing the dice very shortly for 2025. And
That's good news.
The VIP one. God, that was a good choice. Yellow and black. Looks so good.
Very pretty.
Very
glad that I'm very happy that I'm a VIP.
Yes. All right. As always, thank you very much to our Thoughtless Patrons, Alice, Archie, Clinton, Craig, Gertzie, Jared, Kingsley, and Yuri. Thank you, guys. And we will chat to you soon. Laters.
Gotcha.
the thing